Good morning, good evening, everyone. I am Sheila, your host of Essence in You, and I have this marvelous guest, Susan Burrell. Hi, Susan.
Hi, Sheila. Thanks for inviting me to join you today.
Absolutely. And would you mind telling the audience about yourself?
Sure. So, I am an intuitive healer and a spiritual teacher. I have been teaching spiritual practices and about the universal laws and all of that for over 30, well, okay, maybe 30 years. We'll just say it's 30 years. And basically what I do is when I work with clients, most of them are women, most of them are going through a crossroads in their life, whether it's a divorce or empty nest or job shifts. Um, I just am intuitively led to hear what's underneath the story because of course everybody comes in to a session with their story and here's why I'm here, blah blah. And
Mhm.
once I hear what's going on underneath all that, then I often am led to do a guided meditation that helps them pull stuff away or see the particles that they're not aware of that are either blocking them or they need to incorporate, stuff like that. So that's a little bit of what I do. I have a lot of guided meditations. It's what
Mhm.
I did for myself when I was going through a traumatic time in my life. So I know it works with the clients that I work
And I can attest to that. Meditation has helped me a great deal, whether it be just, let me back up. Us being as women,
with. Hmm.
to me, we have so much that's like compounded on us that we are expected to handle and to handle gracefully and to handle without whining about it. Because to be all honest, we can't whine because we have children that we have to get ready or to make sure that they're straight because they're looking to us, especially our men and women, the little girls and boys, look at to us to see how we handle things.
Yeah.
And with that being said, usually mommy usually is the calm one.
Well,
Daddy is usually out there somewhere
out doing
sometimes.
something. But I was
Uh-huh.
giggling when you started to say all that because I was going to say it sounds like we have the same mother.
Hmm.
Because the expectation of women, and it comes from our matriarchal ancestral line, is exactly what you just described, Sheila. And it's because, and that's how, hmm, behaviors are passed down, right? Because of the expectation that the parent has, but
Hmm.
also then as they're showing us, our mothers at least, are showing us what they expect of their little girls and how they
Hmm.
should grow up.
Yep.
It's can be part of, well, I found for me, it was part of what caused me to hide my intuitive gifts and things like
Hmm.
that because that didn't fit in that mold. I didn't fit in that what my mom and my grandmother, my goodness,
Hmm.
expected of me. I did as well as I could. I was a little Miss Perfect and all that garbage, but I didn't fit in. So
Hmm.
it's taken me over 50 years to go, wow, I don't fit in, and that is just fine with me.
Yes. It took me a while for that too.
Yep.
And I don't know how old you are, but I graduated in the 80s and basically and I went to all Catholic schools. Basically, we were taught to, I wouldn't say covet men, but you were expected to
Oh my God, I got
get
chills.
married,
Boy.
be married. We had what electives was home ec,
God.
sewing, cooking, so that was, and let's not forget typing class. We didn't have a business class. We had a typing class, a
Uh-huh.
shorthand class,
Uh-huh.
so that was our path. We didn't learn how to or was taught how to become business women or have your own career. And if you did do that, then you were labeled. Like, "Oh, she must can't get married," or something,
Or
but
there's the B word,
something's wrong with them, right?
right? Or you're
Yes.
just the B word,
Yep.
and that's never the truth. And what you just described with all of that, that's what we learned. That fit very well for the 80s, right?
Mhm.
But when we grew up, there had been another reoccurrence of women's liberation,
Mhm.
right? Where women were standing up for themselves yet again. Yet
Mhm.
again, I say,
Yes,
because
yes.
there was
We're
this
doing it
let's
now.
and here we are now again. Me
Yes.
too. Here we
Yep.
are now. I can't wait until that loop stops.
Mhm.
And so those skill sets were then became the chains that kept us small, right? They bound us to what that expectation was from the 40s, from the 1800s, I mean, it was
Mhm.
really, I think it was just in the 20th century that women really busted
Mhm.
out enough. And now, fortunately, there are so many well-educated women, whether they're
Mhm.
self-educated or they've gone to a university, that
Mhm.
are able, willing to
Mhm.
speak out, but also able and willing to follow their, what I would call, their soul purpose, their soul
Yes.
calling.
Yes. Yes. And look how long it took us to get there, even though there's some powers that be that want to take us back. But we're not going, I mean, knowledge you cannot take away, number one. And number two, once we know what the truth is within us, you cannot diminish that. You cannot diminish the light in anyone. And that's how I feel about that.
Well, I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. I'm so glad we're having this conversation. I just feel so connected and turned on, The energy just keeps shooting down me. The light within is the reason why we're here. It's the
Mm-hmm.
reason. And what I mean by that is the divine spark. It's not based on any kind of world religion. It
Mm-hmm.
is what is actually in every particle that is on this planet and every particle that's in the multiple universes. That
Mm-hmm.
divine spark.
Mm-hmm.
When we, for whatever reason, human beings got the idea, I would say 6 centuries ago, 6,000 centuries ago,
Mm-hmm.
12,000 centuries ago, a long time,
Yeah.
that we were the ones that had dominion over the planet, which is a crock. It's a
Yeah.
crock. Sorry.
It is. It
I'm just
is.
gonna be straight up with you, Sheila, and your
And that's
listeners.
how I appreciate that because you just be you. That's
Okay,
it.
so thank you. I
You're
appreciate that
welcome.
permission. I've only been me for, about 10, 15 years, but I
Right.
appreciate that.
Yes, you just be you.
But the thing is that if we are aware, when we become aware, because I think we're on an accelerated energy learning curve now, just like in the last few years, but now, especially this year, I mean, every time I turn around, I'm like, whoa, where's the floor? Where's the wall? What am I
Mhm.
supposed to know? That kind of
Mhm.
stuff. And what it is awakening to that inner spark that holds all the wisdom, holds our soul imperative, our soul purpose, the reason why we said, yes, I'll come down here again. I'll do it
Mhm.
again. I'll be here during this particular time. I'm a great believer in reincarnation, and I know it's true because I have seen previous lifetimes that I've gone through, and I've seen them, not relive them. You don't need to do that. Nobody, you don't need to do that. But to
Mhm.
see it, to know what is the piece that I'm missing this time. Why am I repeating this pattern? Why am
Mhm.
I feeling so much pain in the middle of my back
Mhm.
or my neck or my chest? And a lot of that it's residual from previous lifetimes. And when we come back, it is with intention, hopefully, part of it is to resolve those pieces,
Mhm.
give them back to what was, because we don't need to keep dragging what was into our future. right?
Mhm.
And that's what we're going through right now. There's this whole you said it earlier, trying to take us backwards, right?
Mhm.
Take us back. We already did that. And
Mhm.
boy, did we see it doesn't work, right?
Yes.
It really
Mhm.
doesn't work. And there's a
Mhm.
there's a group, faction,
Mhm.
contingent
Mhm.
that still thinks that that's the way it should be
Mhm.
because I mean, just fill in the blank, and I don't
Yes.
know, and I can't speak for them,
Right.
but if they really understood their purpose of existence, they wouldn't be doing that stuff. They'd
Yeah.
be going, "Oh my god, that's not I wanna get on the higher frequency, the higher
Mhm.
vibration, because that's where we're all going, right?"
Yes. 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 Absolutely. I when you spoke of having pains in your back and you don't know why or in your neck, that comes from a previous life. How would someone find that out? Like just like the same thing with ancestral karma. How do you know it's ancestral karma? Like how do you know? That's my question. How do you know that that's what that is?
You know what? I don't have a definitive answer for you, Sheila.
Mhm.
Years ago, one of my close friends, I kept saying, "Well, the universe is like this, and we're here to do what I just said, right? Basically, but
Mhm.
that was a few decades ago." And she kept
Mhm.
saying, "How do you know?" And I said, "I don't know how I know. I just know. I
Right.
just know."
I
And
can understand that.
there's many of us who came in with that spigot turned on, if you will,
Mhm.
and we
Mhm.
just have to turn up the volume or turn on the spigot more to comprehend what else we've gone through. There's lots of different people out there that'll do past life regressions with you or
Mhm.
they'll do read your tarot cards or
Mhm.
you can talk to channelers who said, "Oh, this is who you were then," and stuff like that. And I found that when I have done that, it helps me to open up my own inner knowing until I don't need to know that.
I gotcha.
I know how to do that now for myself. Mostly okay, I'll share an example.
Okay.
This is an example about a past life that was causing me physical pain, okay?
Mhm. Mhm.
And I can tell you some other stuff about all that. But I've been having I took a hard fall about a year and a half ago, and all of a sudden 8 months later, the physical aches and pains showed up. 8 months later,
Mhm.
I was
Mhm.
fine. I got up and walked around. I was like, "Okay." I had jammed my left knee, I had jammed my left wrist, I had jammed my shoulder by
Mhm.
protecting myself when I fell. Forgot about it. All of a sudden, I'm having this pain in my shoulder. Well, now it's been 6 or 7 months of physical therapy that has assisted in the mobility a bit, but the pain still is there and it comes and goes. And when it comes, it's intense. And
Mm.
I had this one day, a really bad day, and I had talked to mm, another channeler, Caroline Oceana Ryan.
Mhm.
I've had her on my show a few times, and she brought up the whole thing about if you want to know, ask yourself a question. If you want to know what the real answer is, right?
Mhm.
In your journal, you can say, I have a question about, or I want to know, and you write with your dominant hand. And then you listen to the answer and you just write it down with your left hand. And I thought, I am in so much pain. I'm going to do that. I've heard of that before, but I had never done it. Well, I'm going to do that. So I sit down and why is my left shoulder in so much pain? And I'm starting to write with my other hand and I'm seeing because I'm a visual person. That's how I create my guided meditations. I see them and then I
Mhm.
speak them. What I saw was that I had a past life where this shoulder had been irrevocably damaged. I
Mhm.
had been a soldier in the Civil War,
Mhm.
didn't need to know what side, but I had been shot in this shoulder. It feels like it was Gettysburg. I
Mhm.
had been shot in the shoulder and they were trying to save me, save the arm. But what they ended up having to do, because there was gangrene, is amputate from the the entire shoulder and arm, right? And
Wow.
that's where my neck pain is. And I was like, I have chills now. Okay, so did it get rid of my pain? No, but now I am more aware of the other layers that are under it, which is why the shoulder is frozen, so to speak.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that's one way individuals could ask. I find that, okay, now we're talking about past lives. We'll move off of this in a minute. But what
Okay.
I find, it's fascinating to me, is another woman sent me a text or something. My sister was told by a tarot reader that she was a high priestess and sometime. How does she
Mhm.
go back to that past life so she can find out the high priestess? My question is, why?
Mhm.
Why do you need to know that?
Mhm.
Some people, my mother was one, thought that, if they could say, "Oh, I was a high priestess in a previous lifetime," it gives them more caveat, more cachet, more
Yeah, or status quo.
status. Thank you. And I felt that when this woman said, "My sister said," and she wants to know, I was like, "Oh, I would never, sorry, I would never tell her because her questing for who was I in a previous lifetime isn't for her betterment
Mhm.
necessarily. There are lifetimes where you don't want to know what you did.
Mhm.
You don't want to know who you
'Cause
are.
you don't know. Yep.
And there are times where we're high priestesses, and then we're times where we're the drunkard in the street,
Mhm.
or the person stealing things, or
Mhm.
it's not all great.
Yeah.
So,
That's just like when people call on their ancestors. They
uh-huh.
always say, "Be careful who you call on. Make sure you're stating ancestors of the highest good because you don't know what's in your lineage." Just like what you said. You
It's
don't know
true.
what has been that,
It is
been
true.
there, done that, all that. So, yeah.
And it's interesting, Sheila, because a lot of people, so I've been doing ancestral clearing. I started several years ago doing it
Mhm.
for myself because I was going through what I thought would only be a month. It ended up being like for the rest of my life, excavation of why am I this way? Why did I feel unworthy again? Why was my
Mhm.
esteem tanking again? But what I found is there's a lot of people that, and it depends on the culture you were raised in, because a lot of cultures revere their ancestors. And
Yes.
there is a thing where ancestors need to be revered. They came before, they carved through whatever lifetime they lived
Mhm.
to be able to bring us here now.
Yes.
But I agree, there are ancestors that, you don't, I mean, I have a guy who was a horse. What did my mom tell me? And it was on my dad's side because my mom was into genealogy. He was a
Mhm.
horse thief, and so he got caught and he got hung in the barn,
Mhm.
And who wants to know about that one?
Right.
But this is what I've learned doing this ancestral clearing is that the ancestors had it much, much rougher than we can
Yeah.
ever imagine having today. And
Mhm.
so the thing that we think is awful or horrible is that they really were doing the best they could because there was limited information. There wasn't an internet,
Mhm.
w- quote unquote, liminal funding, because there was a serf system, there was a prince or a king, and then there was the people that worked the fields, that stuff. So their life experience each time, uh, was unique and true to the era they grew up
Mhm.
in, and I've gone back in my ancestral lineage, I would say, like, to the 1700s, maybe the
Mhm.
1400s one time, just because, again, I was doing it to heal myself, and I wanted to heal the low self-esteem drip,
Mhm.
that kept resurfacing and have it stop with me. I'm really
Mhm.
big on, I will be the one that it stops with. It's not gonna
Mhm.
continue down the rest of the lineage.
Yeah.
But I've also done that with, okay, so physical. I've developed arthritis in my thumb joints, right? Okay, everybody? Need the arthritis in my thumb joints. Um, my mother and my grandmother had horrible arthritis in their hands, and I kept telling myself, "That's not you. You're not that. It's not happening." And then when I started, I was like, "Oh, And so
Mhm.
one day I was in particular pain and I thought, I'm going to sit down and do what I do. So I went up my matriarchal lineage through my mom, through my grandmother, through so many other so many other moms, right? And I went back to where all I saw were these gnarled hands in my mom, gnarled hands in so much pain. And I asked, what happened to you? And she said, I just had to keep digging because I can't find enough food for my family. Eh, and I was like, "Oh my god,
Mhm.
poor thing. You poor
Mhm.
thing." So then the belief system that I have to do all the work, I have to work all the time because my family's gonna die. And my grandmother and my mother were crocheters, knitters,
Mhm.
sewers, just working all the time. But the other belief system is that there's not enough. There will No matter how hard I work, there will never be enough. There will never be enough for me to take care of my family. Stuff like that. And when I was able to go, then there was a release of that belief system within me so that within, I don't know, I would say for about a good 28, 48 hours, I did not have any pain in my thumbs
Wow.
because I understood what the inception, what the root cause was,
Mhm.
and it was that there wasn't enough. So
Wow.
our ancestors are waiting for us to ask these questions, I really believe. And yes, there are ancestors that were not do-gooders.
Right.
There were ancestors that were involved in nefarious things over the
I mean, but
centuries.
if you take a look at just your own family dynamic right now,
Right.
everyone has somebody in their family that just doesn't do right.
Mhm.
So, what really makes us think that back then everybody did right? It just wasn't. Now that I think about that, you just made a light bulb go off for me to even say that. I'm like, well, that makes sense?
Well, and the thing is that what we're talking about are human beings.
Mhm.
And human beings and human nature is not a straight thoroughfare, and then world religions that were developed way back when in the 1200s, the 10, way back, way back, they were developed to, this is my opinion, everybody, Sheila, this is my opinion. I'm sorry. You get me, you get
Understood.
my opinion.
That's right.
They were developed so that a small few could control a large mass of people. Make sense?
A lot of people don't realize that religion, again, my opinion, is man-made.
It's man-made. My
Yes,
god, thank you.
to control the masses at that particular time.
And
So
then it
that's
gets
why,
passed down.
yes, and that's why in the Bible there are some things that are left out that are in other texts that's not in ours because they wanted the control because man wrote that. So,
And men,
yes.
a small few bit of men wanted all the money. Hello, popes. I'm
Mhm.
so sorry.
Yeah.
But when you go
They
back to
wanted
the
power and control.
power control, when you go back to the Borghese, there were
Mhm.
many of them that put their siblings, sons in positions as pope.
Mhm.
It wasn't, that God came down and said, "Oh, you're going to be pope."
Mhm.
It doesn't work that way. It's
Mm.
all a political system.
Mhm. And again, once you know that knowledge and once you realize that and see it for yourself, you can't go back.
Right.
You just can't go back.
Right. It's like when you walk into a room and you see something you really don't want to see it and you cannot
Unsee
unsee
it.
it.
Yep.
It's very
Mhm.
true
Yeah.
because it just sticks in your mind, in your awareness. And then what happens is if we're not aware that we are being influenced by things we hear, things that we see, the
Mhm.
external stimuli that especially is coming at us in this day
Mhm.
and age,
Mhm.
those things are insidious. I was um I was working with a healer, a really great guy who was healing me of this disease that I've had for a very long time. And he said,
Mhm.
well, it's a virus. Did anybody tell you it was a virus? And I said, no. And he said, well, the virus, he goes, the virus germs or whatever, they hold other people's emotions in you.
What?
Bacteria germs or whatever you call those things,
Mhm.
they hold your emotions in you.
Hmm.
So in order to really clear the root cause of what your dis-ease is, what is making you uneasy, it's important to go and see and ask yourself, is this a bacteria? Is this a virus? I
Mhm.
understand that now so clearly, Sheila. Whereas before I was like, yeah, that's what doctors do, right? They tell you what to do with about that stuff. What I do is
Mhm.
I'm a very spiritual person and I'm going to, you know, meditate on this. No, I get it now. And
Mhm.
so what's happening is that what we're seeing and hearing is also okay, now I'm going into a whole different hemisphere I'm going into a different dimension, Sheila, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
What occurs now, it's been happening for a long time, but we are now becoming very aware that the higher dimensions, first of all, we live in a 3D world. We are accelerating into a 5D world and eventually into a whatever, 10th, 12th, where the frequencies are so refined and so high in their vibratory essence that hate, shame, all that stuff. I got caught on shame. Isn't that interesting? I'll work on that later. That becomes non existent because the only thing, this goes back to the divine spark of love, the only
Mhm.
thing that exists is love. And that's
Yes.
where we're accelerating to is to being in love. But what is occurring now is that there is encoding, um, there's positive encoding, and there's what I would say is negative. That's a lazy word for it, just really crappy encoding. Anyway,
Mhm.
for manipulation. The negative stuff is to manipulate individuals, and we're seeing this on a global level, to do what the little bitty few want us to do.
Mhm.
And the positive encoding is only light. It's only
Mhm.
light. It's only
Mhm.
light. And in that
Yeah.
light is only love. It's
Mhm.
only love. And
Yes.
the more individuals go on social media, watch news, listen to their neighbor kvetch about what's going on, good or bad, whatever they think, we got to stop talking about that stuff. Because again, what happened before does not have to continue and does not have to happen in our future. And every
Mhm.
minute we have a choice. How are we seeding our future? And by future, I don't mean 5 years from now. I mean the next 5 minutes. How am I seeding my future?
Interesting verbs. Interesting. Seeding. Like planting
Seeding.
that seed. How
Yep.
are you seeding
Yeah.
your future in what you're saying to yourself and to anybody else?
Right.
How are you seeding?
Because every word has a vibration, right? Every thought has a vibration. And the seeding, are you planting seeds of hope or which hope can be a little, lots of people want to have hope, but
Mhm.
hope is like a future thing. I hope tomorrow is a good day. Hope what are you seeding for you to live the highest frequency of love right now? And I would suggest you seed love, only love. But there's lots of people that I just had this funny
Yeah.
image. Sorry. Lots of people are taking their shame out into the backyard and dumping it in a hole. They're
Mhm.
seeding that. Lots of people are seeding their hatred out on street corners and
Mhm.
in schoolyards and in wherever because they don't know what to do with these emotions.
Mhm.
That's the real truth. And as we wake up, all are we self I invite everybody to become self-responsible. And there's this word sovereign going around.
Mhm. Mhm.
Develop your own sovereignty, claim it. Well, how you claim it is by becoming aware of the muck that's inside you that you are unaware of and that is reflecting outside of you. So all those people that you think you hate, disagree with, whatever, It is time to sit down and look at yourself. Where are you hating yourself? Where are
Yeah.
you in conflict or argument with yourself? Where the
Mhm.
ego is saying, no, you should be like this. But the heart center is going, no, we're not like that. We're not like that. The sovereignty is about stepping up into the higher frequency of love in my mind.
Mhm.
And it's a challenge every day. But if are aware enough to say, how do I want to seed my next, Abraham Hicks calls it segments.
Mhm.
Segment intention. How do I want to see the next yet to be in my life? Do I want to
Mhm.
be love, or do I want to be anger? Do I want to be love, or do I want to be fear? There's a plethora of choices on the other side. Anger,
Yeah.
fear, shame, guilt, blah, 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 blah.
And I guess that's where a lot of people talk about shadow work and dealing with that. For those out there who who do not know what shadow work is, would you mind explaining that and what the process is? For all of us need to do it because all of us have some type of crap within them. So, would you mind explaining that, please?
Absolutely. I'm not an expert at it. I have
Mhm.
interviewed a few people that are experts on my show, my podcast. So if people want to learn more, but what I've learned, especially in the last year, because shadow work is what's bubbling up to the surface. The shadow, the
Mhm.
collective shadow of humanity is bubbling up. And people are reacting because we've all kept our shadows hidden for so long. So we're overreacting because how could anybody know that about me? Oh my gosh, And
Mhm.
that's what keeps a
Mhm.
lot of people from doing meditation, because it did for me for a long time, because I was afraid I was going to go inside and see something ugly about myself that then everybody would know. So shadow work is basically that. When we are very young, before age 3, as we're learning how to be in the world and our parents are guiding us or telling us what to do, and you do something. Okay, I'll talk about me. I was highly intuitive as a child. What do I know? Right? I'm a
Mhm.
2-year-old, I'm a 3-year-old. But I would get into it. Now I see what they were. I would get an intuitive hit about something and I would say it out loud. And my mother said, don't talk about that. That's not okay. You need you
Mhm.
need to be quiet. Or why are you always so emotional? Because I'm an empath. I could pick up on people's emotions and I could just start crying, right? I still
Mhm.
do. What a pain. But but at least I'm aware of it. But what happens is when we do things that our parents, our society, our ancestors, our grandparents deem inappropriate, let's just put it that way, or bad, then they show us in their behavior. They withdraw love, or we get punished, or we get told mean things. And then we go, oh, I
Mhm.
guess I'm not supposed to be like that. And so we take that part that most likely was attached to the light we came in with, and we
Mhm.
hide it in ourselves into these pockets of shadow. and
Mhm.
and nobody's going to ever know that about me, because they won't love me. if
Mhm.
i'm if i'm this, they won't love me. And so what happens is eventually some of that stuff comes out, especially if you've been hiding from yourself for so long. And the
Mhm.
best thing about doing shadow work is you become aware that some of those shadows could be a hidden strength, that some of those shadows are coming out, like what we're seeing right now, to inform us of something better, or to
Mhm.
inform us that we were traumatized as a child. This is all what's happening right now in the world. It's
Mhm.
blowing up so we can all see that there was a huge game about traumatizing.
Mhm.
So basically, Carl Jung is the first psychiatrist. I don't think he even had that name, but he's the one that discovered the shadow side, and he was very aware of the spiritual side as well. And so he developed ways to help people integrate those
Mhm.
both sides. Because think about it, if you're not dressing your shadow side, you basically, like in my past life, you've basically cut off a part of yourself.
Mhm.
Right? So our work, when we begin to investigate our shadows, is to come into a wholeness, and it helps with self acceptance. We come into a self accepting attitude. Yeah, I have that hypercritical mean person in me. And I'm just going to
Mhm.
be aware when she wants to come out and kick somebody's butt.
Mhm.
I'm just going to go, wait, okay. I'm going to have a little more finesse about it, but,
Right.
you know, or I'm just gonna say, "Okay, honey, I get you wanna do that, but why don't you go sit down over there and
Mhm.
let me deal with it now? I
Mhm.
understand why you're acting out. Great." That kind of stuff. So it really does, I think, assist people in integrating into oneness, which also is what I think we're all here to do, Sheila. We're here to integrate into oneness. And by oneness, I mean all of us
Mhm.
connecting to each other, heart to heart, wherever we are in the world. Because again, there's only love. That's it.
That's right.
There's
And
only
we
love.
are truly all connected.
Hmm.
I mean, everything is connected by energy, by shiftness, by just being, really just being. I mean, you can meet someone on the street and be like, I just feel I've known you forever.
Right.
Just
Exactly.
the type of conversation. And I wonder when you were talking about your ancestors and how you searched back to find them and you did your history, how long did that take you? Because that had to be, I mean, would you go on ancestry.com and you just kept going and going?
Two separate things. Two separate
Okay.
things.
All right.
I know about some of my ancestral history because my mom did that, and my mom did it old school. There was no ancestry.com when she
Okay.
started. So she drove to places, she traveled to places, she did the etchings on the tombstones to come back and say, "Where does this she did the puzzle pieces. That
Oh
is
my goodness.
that's just to say I come from a long, long line of whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Ancestral clearing, you don't need to know them. You don't need to know a name. You don't need to know what they look like. You don't need to know where they live. The point of doing that clearing is to release them as well as yourself from behaviors and beliefs that have been handed down. Like your grandmother, your great great grandmother's quilt she made gets handed
Mm-hmm.
down all the time. Well, pretty soon that quilt is ratty and tatty. And really, do you want to give it to your granddaughter? So it is about going back as far as you can to find those individuals who began the belief system of not being good enough, of not having enough, of being a bully. Why is somebody a bully? Well, if you go back in the lineage, and it's because, again, when those people lived, they did the best they could. And they didn't know. They didn't know because there really
Right.
wasn't and they didn't know what we know now.
Right. Right.
If they went to church, which they probably did, they were told they were
Mm-hmm.
sinners. If they
They were,
understood
yes.
if they understood the language that was being spoken. Otherwise, it was a bunch of Latin going blah, 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 blah. So, and then the priests, the men would say, and you're a sinner, and your baby's a sinner. Oh, you had a baby? Sinner.
Mm-hmm.
I call bullshit. So
The flag is up.
so the ancestral clearing is to get to those initiating points where we can then release it. We can with love, with forgiveness, ask the ancestors to release that cord. I see it as a cord that then once they release it and you tell them, I will take it, I will you. And when they release it to you, and all the ancestors that have been doing that same behavior or passing down that belief system, you've got to be a good girl, you've got to be a good girl, whatever it is, all of them, once the first one releases it, they all pretty much release it. They're like, oh, thank God somebody's taken this away from me. And
Mm-hmm.
then you can transmute it, and then what happens is because it stops with you, it stops with me, the future generation, you can turn to them and say, now you have more freedom because you don't
Mm-hmm.
have to have that belief system. In fact, it got erased.
Mm-hmm.
You can be exactly who you want to be. You can make a lot of money, or you can do a phenomenal painting and sell it, or go on a world trek and open up an ashram or whatever you feel.
Mm-hmm.
You have the freedom of choice now because those beliefs and those behaviors limit our freedom of choice. That's not just an American idea to have freedom of a lot of
Mm-hmm.
things. Uh, but it is a spiritual idea that every soul that incarnates, once we come into this body, we have freedom of choice. And that's also why excuse me, why our guides, our angels, other celestial beings that are around assisting us, especially right now, they cannot interfere
Uh,
unless you ask, because that's you choosing. Hey, guardian angel, I need help.
mhm,
Then they will come in and they will assist. But it's really for our grand soul growth and evolution.
mhm,
That's why we're on the planet, to grow our soul. Because when we cross over again, what we've learned is part of the whole. As we learn, it goes
mhm,
back into the oneness, into the wholeness, because it's such a vast consciousness that we can't even put words to it.
mhm,
But that goes back into that because it came in as that divine spark to learn more about itself by means of us. And so when we get that that's part of our soul purpose and that we're here to grow and evolve, as sucky as it is sometimes with what we've decided we're going to learn, it is necessary for the highest good of all beings. Because again, it gets transmuted into love. Everything gets transmuted into love. So even all those icky people we don't like that we thought were our shadow sides, when
mhm.
they cross over, there is a transmutation that happens where they have to face what they didn't do. We all do.
Yes, yes. With all your self-healing and your ancestral knowledge,
Mm.
do you feel that you have broke some of your ancestral ties as far as the karmic ways ties?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I haven't seen it that way. Hold on, let me see what it is. I don't know that it's breaking ties. I know that when I've led some of these workshops, people are like, "Oh, but I loved my grandmother." It's not about breaking those ties.
The healing, like heal that traumatic
It will help them
issue.
as much as you.
Yeah.
Now, they're the ones that probably experienced the trauma, right? Like my ancestor who was digging for potatoes, probably in Ireland,
Mhm.
to feed her family. It takes some of that trauma away. I believe it does. But that was also their lifetime. That was what they were there to learn, whatever that represented for them. Hold on, hold on. I have to breathe. I stopped breathing for a minute. I think that when you talk about karmic ties, that is or wounding. I think it all points to the individual soul who's currently incarnated
Mhm.
to investigate and then heal themselves. And if they're unwilling to heal themselves, then eventually they pass on. And then again, at the evaluation or review or whatever you want to name it, they go, that was my opportunity to break that karmic tie.
Mhm.
I see. So it's not necessarily that we can do it as we become more and more aware. I'm sure of it. I bet there's people that do it and teach it. Yeah, that's what I heard I was supposed to say about that one.
Okay.
Holy moly.
So, with us women,
Mhm.
people always talk about empowerment. Like, we are empowered, we are empowered. How do you help a woman or any individual become empowered within themselves? What do you, I would say, tell them to do, or what do you have them research within them so they could bring that out, like a lotus flower, how the it just comes out?
Right, and that's a lovely image. Well, a lot of what we've been talking about, because the darkness or the shadow or the little girl who was hurt doesn't know that she's empowered, right? And they're hiding because they're going to get beaten again or locked in the basement or whatever it is that. And I have this one client, she's wonderful. We've been working together for, I want to say 6 years.
Wow.
When she first came to me, she had 0 self-esteem, none. And she
Mhm.
didn't even know that she could have self-esteem because she was always like that.
Mhm.
This is who I am. And she didn't know. She would say to me, like maybe a year later, she's like, Susan, I love myself now. And I didn't know that that was an option. I didn't grow up
Wow.
thinking I could love myself. Nobody told me about that. It was just, be a good girl and get married and have children. And now you've done it. I'm
Mhm.
like, Oh my God. And there's lots of us that grew up when we did, even though we were in the, I want to say the leading edge of the feminine movement,
Mhm, mhm,
where that became something important
mhm,
that we didn't know. And I would suggest that there's lots of women that are in high level positions that still don't know
mhm.
that
That's
they
true.
need to love themselves first. And so when I
Mhm,
work with people, it's to help them develop a new foundation to stand on, because I had to do that for myself when I was coming out of a 28-year divorce, and I realized I didn't love myself. I didn't respect myself. So where was I going to, what was I standing on? Where was my foundation? Because everything got crumbled.
mhm,
And then the individual, as we talk and I hear key things, can develop what I call the four pillars of their foundation, so the foundation will stand on four pillars, and often it's love or forgiveness or compassion, or one of mine is integrity, always has been, always will be. And once we learn that we can, I'm talking about women who are seeking to feel empowered, you can claim it, but that's bringing it from the outside in. Way to feel empowered is by doing your inner work and pulling off the boulders that are covering up your heart and your wisdom and your divine spark, pull off that garbage that other people dumped on you that isn't
mhm,
even yours, so that you
mhm,
can go, there I am. There
mhm.
I am, and I'm beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm beautiful. And once we can begin to see ourselves inside, which I think is where that's the only place the work is. That's the only place. And as we do that, we begin to see our outer world shift. The
Mhm,
people we hang out with become more enlightened, more lighter.
mhm,
The places we go are more inspiring, that, the actions we take, the jobs we do, because it's
mhm,
coming from our inner guidance. That lotus blossom, like you said, Sheila,
mhm,
comes out of that opening, but it's within yourself. And then
mhm,
once you are really living within yourself, claiming that you are empowered is an easy thing to do. And it's
mhm,
not a hard affirmation. I'm empowered. I'm empowered. No,
mhm.
it's just how you live your life.
You just be.
You just be.
I'm gonna leave it there because that was powerful. That was woo. You go, girl. You go. Whoop
Thank
whoop.
you. Oh my. Thank you for letting me talk all over the place. Whoa.
Hey, again, that's what we're all about, right? It's just a conversation, it's a chat. And look at all the nuggets that you dropped. You dropped so many golden nuggets. And
Thank you.
I know women, people are gonna just like, cause I feel it right here. When I was holding my heart, that's, I was coming from there. Truly, truly. So you have to tell people where they can find you.
Brain just stopped. Jeez. They can go to my website. Everything is on my website, which is
Okay.
Susan Burrell, BURRELL.com. They can find my podcasts, Empowering Chats with Susan Burrell. They can find the icon that takes them to Insight Timer, where all of my guided meditations are stashed.
She's on there.
They can go and investigate my book, Living Your Empowered Life, a 30-day journey. If there's anybody that wants to jumpstart their way back to empowerment, that's a really good tool. Then
Okay.
there's a lot of other stuff on there, but the website's the best way to go.
All right. Well, I like to thank you. Thank you so much for coming. I really, really enjoyed our conversation, and I hope that this is not our last one.
I
So
think
I
we should
hope
check
that
in 20, what's the next year coming up?
20,
20, geez, Louise. Yeah,
right?
right. Well, it'll be there in a blink of an eye, and then we can be talking again, Sheila. I would love that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I like to say thank you once again from the bottom of my heart. I truly, truly enjoyed our chat. I truly enjoyed your nuggets that you dropped. I felt your love and your sincerity, and I just woo, love it. Mwah.
Oh, thank you, my dear. I appreciate it. And I
Yeah,
appreciate all the work that you do. This is stellar. You are a
thank you.
stellar being doing this work. Thank you, she.
Thank you. Well, ladies and gents, we're going to say bye for now, but it's not bye forever. We'll see you next time.